All right, welcome into the Bucks on the Pond podcast. Man, there's nothing like vibing to that jam after a 5-0 week. Pirates win every single game of the past week, including the first 4 by 10 or more runs, and then have to sweat it out in the Saturday finale doubleheader. The comments section is already lit. As Skull Pirate says, AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, Tesla, Doge, chat, GPT. We'll get in our buzzwords for the AI so we can get our viewers up. I'm Stephen Igo, Jonathan Wagner, Scott Lorbatcher, fresh off jury duty, and it has been a day for us all. By the way, Wags, how's that L feeling in NCAA football? Have you gotten over it yet?
I came out of it feeling pretty good. You know, I expected to lose because I think you're pretty substantially better than me, and I hung with you until the end, and it was a game. So I came out of it feeling as good as you can after an 0-2 start.
For those who have no idea what we're talking about, that is the Hoist the Kellers online dynasty, College Football 25. Colorado State, my team, prevailed in Statesboro over Georgia Southern, 59-45. No defense being played, but it was good to get a W over Wags. But we're talking baseball here. Actually, before we do that, Skull Pirate wants to know, did he do it, Scott?
Did who do it?
You're the person you were ruling on in the jury.
Oh, it was a civil case, and it also got settled before we went back there. So
a giant waste of time. Yep. That's how these things typically go. All right. We got a lot to get into, and we'll just go general overall take as we always do, and then we'll get into what we learned after that. So overall vibes. We'll let you start it off, Scott, because you had 2 and 3 as a prediction, and the boys proved you wrong.
Yeah, I'm glad they did. And I'm glad they were able to put together multiple good games in a row. I'd say we played 4 pretty good games this week. That second game Saturday, I mean, kind of just it's hard to remain focused after you play the 2 games that you did on Friday and Saturday, the early game. But you know, definitely glad to see that. Obviously, you're playing RPI 250 teams. They're pretty bad. And I think they were worse than maybe we expected going into the week. VCU especially. I thought VCU was maybe not as bad as their record indicated, and then they looked every bit as that bad. And then William and Mary, I'm not sure what's going on there, because they're typically a middle of the road kind of CAA type team that can beat you if you don't have your A game, but they looked as dysfunctional as I think I've ever seen them. So really happy to see us go 5-0, go undefeated this week, and I'll be a lot happier.
Wags, your take on the Pirates 5-0 week?
Yeah, I think, Scott's right. I think both teams were significantly worse than I thought they would be, and it was noticeable pretty much from the first pitch of every game. And I mean, VCU was one of those, or 2 of those games, I guess, where you get up and you never feel nervous. And then it carried over to the weekend, which is nice. It was nice to see this team beat the crap out of a team they should beat the crap out of, because, we haven't seen that yet against some teams that they probably should. So that was encouraging, but at the same time, it's, just pick a random inning from this weekend, and especially on Friday, and when ECU's batting, and just watch for the defense of George Mason. I mean, every ball in the air, and against VCU too, every ball was an adventure. You never knew where it was going, if it was going to get caught.
Don't disrespect George Mason like that. I think you meant William and Mary. I mean, there's only so many shitty Virginia baseball teams. Come on now.
So William and Mary, it was ugly baseball, but it was nice to see again ECU come out and do what they should, because coming into this week, I think it was a concern for a lot of people whether or not this team was capable of doing that. So I came out of it feeling good, but I don't come out of it feeling a whole lot different than I did going in at the same time.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I mean, it was a get right week, and ECU got right. It was a stat padding week. The batting average for the team is now at 277. It wasn't that long ago, guys. They were hitting like 220 as a team. I think they were hitting like 240 something entering the week. The ERA is down to 4. And so, at 4.08 as a team. So, like, it makes your team statistics look better. It makes your record look better. Now, somebody brought up here, let's see. JPN says with a 5-0 week, our RPI dropped from 60 to 90. We can get into that. Still a little early for the RPI, but certainly still a factor. And Cameron says, good to see us go 5-0, but come on, it's against two of the worst teams in the country. We will see how we look the next 2 weeks before saying we're back. I do have to say, like, you played at VCU, which was a 3 seed in a regional last year. Nobody expected them to be this bad. William & Mary is usually a respectable team. So maybe these teams can get better and help out the RPI throughout the season. But right now, they are bad. And ECU did what they need to do. I don't know if we learned a whole lot. We'll get into that in a second. But, like, it was a get-right week. It was a can you go out there and win every game you're supposed to, and ECU did. And for the most part, did with flying colors. And until, like Scott said, eventually, like, it's baseball. You're not going to win every game by 10 or more runs. And they found a way on Saturday, which was important. All right, what did we learn? Scott, did you learn anything over the last 5 games?
Yeah, I think we learned that East Carolina needs to find weekend starting pitching and needs to find it in a hurry. Specifically, we'll talk about Sean Jenkins right now, and he's obviously immensely talented, but he does not have it yet. And I think continuing to put him out there at this point is doing him a disservice. And we have a visitor. You want to say hi?
You think Sean Jenkins should continue starting?
Don't talk to mommy. Sorry. So, yeah, I think continuing to put Sean Jenkins out there on the weekend is doing the team and him a disservice. Honestly, I kind of think I'd like to see him start on Tuesday and just take the midweek role with the intent to get 3 innings one time through the lineup. And then the other side of that is I think Jake Hunter and Nick Moran have proven they deserve an opportunity to start on the weekends based off how they've pitched. And obviously that the spots are there for them to be able to start at this point in my mind. So I think that we got to find pitching on the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge concern. And look, I mean, I'm with you. Sean Jenkins, I think he's going to be phenomenal in the future. Right now, he's just not full in hitters. I mean, he has pitched 19.2 innings and he struck out 10. And teams are finding the barrel. I will say, look, George Mason, there I go. I'm disrespecting George Mason. William & Mary has a top of the order that is legit, and he had to sit a few long innings, but this is now 3 or 4 starts. He has just not looked comfortable. So I do think at some point you have to have that conversation. All right, do we just take some pressure off his shoulders? But right now Nick Moran's scheduled to start tomorrow at UNCW. You can make the argument conference is more important, but this UNCW game obviously important for RPI, which we'll talk about. But certainly starting pitching a huge concern at this point. And I'm almost to the point where I'm like, it sounds like Antolik's going to be another 2 weeks. Sounds like Ryan Towers is going to be a while. Like we're almost back in 22 where you got a Friday night guy, and after that you're just piecing it together. I don't know, Wags. We'll start with what did you learn, then we'll expand on the starting rotations here in a minute.
Yeah, I don't really think I learned much of anything, to be completely honest. But outside of what Scott said, because that's what I was going to say, but I'll go off him a little bit. And I do think that ECU's found a midweek starter in Nick Moran. And whether or not he should move to the weekend, that's a different conversation and one that we're having. But for now, for the meantime, I think ECU's in a good spot there. I think the more he's pitched, the better he's gotten, and the more length that he's gone in each outing, the better he's gotten within those two. So we've been asking for years to have a true Tuesday guy, a midweek starter. And I think if you can find a way to piece together the rest of the rotation on the weekend, then if Nick Moran is starting every Tuesday, then you're going to feel pretty good. And again, I know we spent the whole start of the show talking about how bad these teams were and VCU was not good. But either way, we saw a lot of pitchers this week come in and not execute. And, whether it was Sean Jenkins or Lance Williams or guys out of the bullpen coming in, free passes, walking guys, hitting guys. And Nick Moran came in and got his job done. So that was encouraging to me. And to me, again, it's hard to take out much from this week, but if there's anything, I do think that you learned that Nick Moran is capable of being that midweek guy for the long run.
I am seeing that VCU just got swept by Rhode Island as well. So yeah, they look to be quite bad. They are now 4-15, so that is quite the fall from grace. What I learned is that Braden Burris is a legit leadoff guy, and I mean, look, this guy, he plays with energy. Like, this may have been what we learned in previous weeks. This just like further confirms it to me, is that he's going to set the tone. Obviously, Riley Johnson has been out quite a while now. Again, we don't know when he's coming back. Cliff said after the game on Friday that basically he's trying everything and just can't get back. Braden Burris, guys, has struck out 6 times on the season. Didn't he have like a 4 strikeout game the second or third game of the year? I feel like since then he has put the ball in play. He's getting on base. He's stealing bases. He's hitting for some pop. Like, I love Braden Burris' game. I loved him in the preseason, and I think he's an infielder of the future. Even though he's playing outfield right now, he's playing a damn good outfield. So I'm all aboard the Braden Burris train. Just like any freshman guys, he'll hit a downturn at some point, but I don't think he's going to go into some massive slump, Scott, because he's contact oriented and he's fast.
Yes, speed never slumps, right? So I've been telling people all week that a fun fact about the ECU game this weekend was that our leadoff hitter hit a grand slam in the first inning, and I don't know that that's ever happened in the history of baseball. So I mean, it's just a really cool moment. And but yeah, I mean, I think Burris has established himself as a top of the order guy. If Riley Johnson does come back, it'll be interesting to see. I think Riley still is your leadoff hitter, but you move him to the 2-hole with Dixon behind him, and then you get more of like the power and Collins and Colby Wallace behind them, and you set yourself up to score runs early, which I think is something this team really needs to do more of. And you saw it this week, how beneficial it is to get out to early leads and just kind of stay on top of it.
All right, Johnny Stats checking in with some numbers. The Pirates team batting average was .417 against William and Mary. He says ECU went 9-1 against teams from Virginia this season. He also says Colby Wallace is batting 3 for 4 with the bases loaded with 10 RBIs. The rest of the team is batting 5 for 25 with the bases loaded with 10 RBIs. So Colby Wallace cleaning up with the bases loaded. Yeah, Mr. Pinecrest, Jonathan Wagner, had to make you proud. How about? And I'll say this, man. When he came in the final game of Saturday, I thought, all right, if you can get out of this just with the game tied, you feel good. I didn't really think he'd get out of it unscathed and preserve the win. So that was pretty big time pitching from your boy.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to touch on his offense first, but I think preseason, I want to say that's who I picked to lead the team in RBIs. And, if you look at the season as a whole at the plate for Colby, you would say that he's been pretty far from what we expected coming in, but he's leading the team in RBIs right now. And that's pretty impressive because I still don't think he's hitting all that consistently, but when he runs into a ball, he can hit it far. And when he gets going, he does get hot. And like Johnny said, when he comes up with guys on base, he usually comes through with a big hit. And with the state of this lineup throughout the season, it's huge. And so Colby, if he can establish himself as a middle of the order bat, I think it gives you more flexibility with how you configure your lineup. But yeah, pitching wise too, I also picked him to lead the team in saves because I thought it'd be a lot of situations like that where you kind of burn through your bullpen a little bit and a lot of guys are not available to you anymore. So you're in the ninth inning, you're late, and you're going to come through and you're going to pick Colby. And he's going to come in, and he's not a perfect pitcher. He doesn't pitch a whole lot, but when he comes through, I think he's shown that upside as well. He can come in, he can get swings and misses, and he's got a fastball that's enough to make hitters uncomfortable, especially late in games in a situation like this weekend. So big weekend for Colby, and I still think that we've yet to see the best of Colby Wallace, and I hope he continues to grow. But I'm feeling pretty good about, being one of the OGs on Colby stock. So, yeah, it was a very good weekend for him for sure.
And the other thing, as Fake Bunt has chimed in, a user, and says, Colby back, thing of beauty, in the comment section. We had Alex Boucher in the 94.3 The Game studios today for an interview that'll air tomorrow. And he said him, Colby, and Dixon had to ride up separate for the VCU series because they were all sick. So, none of those – he said a lot of them lost a lot of weight. So, none of these guys were really, 100% at all this week. And for Colby to have that type of week and for the team to be 5-0, I think, shows a lot. Because, yes, the teams they were playing were bad. So, that probably timed out pretty good. But, some of that lingered in the Coastal Carolina series, too, when it got started. And just wanted to point that out, that Colby had a good week recovering from his sickness. All right, let's get into the rotation conversation. And we'll start with Ethan Norby, who, by the way, won the AAC Pitcher of the Week for the second consecutive Monday. Congrats to Ethan Norby. He goes complete game shutout, although 7-inning version. Still, it's not really a shutout, but, hey, it is a shutout. Lane Smith says, is Norby a Friday night guy compared to what we will face moving forward? Is he better than Tulane, FAU, UTSA Friday night guy? So I'll be honest, I don't know I'm not sitting around watching FAU baseball this time of year. You guys may know a little bit more on that front. For me, we know the Charlotte ace threw a no-hitter. He's a transfer from a good school. So do y'all know at all about other teams' aces at this point to confidently say?
I will tell you that none of them have struck out 19 in a game. So
that is fair. I mean, I think I know Tulane's got some good arms coming back, and I know that Wichita was supposed to. There was Davian Hickson from Rice. I'm not sure if he's a reliever or closer, or reliever or starter this year. So sorry, Lane. Don't really know. I do know this. The way Norby's pitching right now, he can compete against anybody on a Friday night. I feel good about that. So I would say in this conference, he's got to be up there for sure. All right, the rest of the rotation, I just, I don't know. I think we're in a spot right now where they're kind of limited on options because honestly, with the way Ethan Young is pitching and the way Brad Pruitt are pitching, I would leave them in their current roles. Pruitt, I don't love as a starter because of his command. I like the opportunity if he's just not in the zone, you can pull him pretty quickly out of the bullpen. But if he's locked in, you can ride him pretty long. Ethan Young's been a stud. I like that he's going to be able to come in a jam, get you out of it. So you feel pretty good about that. We saw more encouraging outings from Jackson DeLorenzo, and I think Ian White had a better week this week overall. We're still seeing too many walks. Lance Williams, I'll say this. He was cruising, and then you had the 6-run inning, long sit, and then just 2 outs, nobody on, guys. Couldn't get anybody out. So I still feel decent about Lance Williams, but he's a freshman. So, you mentioned Jake Hunter, Scott, Nick Moran. I think those guys eventually would get a shot on the weekend due to experience, but they profile more to me as Sunday guys. So I don't know. Where you sit on this, Wags?
Yeah, I have no idea, to be honest with you. I think that's just kind of where we are. And on one hand, I don't want to give up on Sean Jenkins. I still think he's going to end up being one of the great pitchers at ECU. But like Scott said earlier, he doesn't have it right now. And if you keep rolling him out there where he clearly doesn't have it and he keeps pitching like he is, you run the risk of, completely killing his confidence as a 17-year-old. So, but at the same time, you might have that happen if you take him out of the rotation too. So it's a no-win situation, I don't think, with him right now. But ideally, you roll it back for another week, and he comes back this weekend, and he gives you 4 good innings, and you start there. But I think if you're talking about, if you do make a switch, then what do? There is no obvious answer, at least for this week, because it's not going to be Nick Moran unless he's on Sunday because he's starting tomorrow. So I think in the Saturday role, the next guy, I would go Jake Hunter and do so knowing that you're not going to get more than probably 5 innings, and you shouldn't, because I still think they're going to take it somewhat cautiously with him this season in terms of innings and pitch count. But Jake Hunter's pitching really well. And if you have Norby going on Friday, you know he's probably going to get you 7 at a minimum. And then you follow with Hunter. And if he pitches reliably like he has been, then he's probably going to get you 4 or 5 good innings, and you're going to be in a position to win the baseball game. And, after that, I still do like Lance Williams. I personally think he profiles best as a reliever, but I said the same thing about Ethan Norby, and we see how that's gone. So, I don't know. There's no perfect answer. There's no real solution right now, but I still think this is more of a conversation to have when Antolik is back, because it seems like he's closer to coming back than Ryan Towers. And I think if you do make a change too early and you make the wrong decision, you run the risk of just completely killing any confidence that you have built up in recent weeks.
Yeah, I'm looking over Lance Williams, and I wouldn't be opposed to moving back to the bullpen, but you look at his numbers over 3 starts: 2 1/3 scoreless against Virginia Tech, 4 scoreless against Coastal with 5 strikeouts, 1 walk, and then William and Mary, he was 1 2/3 scoreless, and then just couldn't get off the field, 6 runs, and the hit batters more so than the walks seem to kill him. He's got to stay away from those hit batters. So I'm fine giving Lance another shot. It's just, we'll see what they do with Jenkins, but I just look over this list, and I'm just seeing too many walks is the big thing. The batting average, they're keeping teams, to a 230 batting average. The strikeout numbers are fine, well over a strikeout per inning. It's just they got to get the free passes down. And I don't know, who do you have confidence in at this point, Scott, out of the bullpen, besides Young and Pruitt? I feel like they've tried different guys, and at times we've seen bright sides, but at times we're still searching for consistency.
Yeah, even Jake Hunter had his walk issues recently, and Nick Moran I think is certainly capable. He has starting experience. I do think if Antolik and Towers are healthy, this conversation is vastly different, and probably the decision would have already been made. But at the same time, you have Memphis and Rice as your next 2 weekend series. But then after that, things get a lot more difficult. You get FAU and UAB. I think there's somebody in between. Oh, Charlotte and Tulane are the 4 that we play after these first 2 kind of weaker conference opponents. And those are 4 schools that all can beat you and really want to, especially in the case of Charlotte. So, they're going to come into Greenville, or we're going to go there, and they're going to be ready to play. And with the way weather works in Eastern North Carolina this time of the year, the chances of you having to go doubleheader on Saturday, it seems like we do it 3-4 times a year, and you need your Saturday guy to give you 4 or 5 innings so you're not stacking your bullpen up, especially when you play 2 games in a single day like we did this weekend. We have a 17-run lead. We just need Jenkins to go out there and throw strikes. If you give up runs, you give up runs, but you got to get the ball over the plate and make them hit the ball in play and beat you with their bat and not put them on. So, I know Nick Moran's going to go on Tuesday, and that game may actually end up being more important than the Memphis game as far as a 1 loss for the selection committee. But I think going forward, you have to kind of start thinking about other options and who that can be.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like what we've seen out of Gabe Beschloss at times, the lefty out of the pen, and with DiLorenzo, it's like he's not giving up hits. It literally is just like he's walking guys. He has walked more this year than he's already walked last year, and I don't know. It sounds simple, but it just really at this point with this staff comes down to throwing strikes. The one guy who's limiting walks is. Jenkins has only walked 6 in 19 innings, so he's just getting hit pretty hard. Lance Williams, again, he's not struggling with walks. He's hit 8 though, which is just the next highest on the team is 3. So that gives you an idea. He's hitting one guy every other inning. Who do you trust right now, Wags, in this bullpen?
Yeah, I think, like I said earlier, Jake Hunter's on that list right now. And whatever role he's coming in, if he's coming in late and giving you 1, or if he's coming in mid innings and, giving you 5, then I trust Jake Hunter a lot. But I like Gabe Beschloss too. I think he has a lot of upside. I picked him to get a save this week. It didn't happen. But I also trust Ian White Jr. He's another guy. And maybe not, I'm not going to trust him more so than anybody else, obviously, but he's a guy, just his pure stuff. He's pretty much slider only. And when he gets into a good situation and he's on it, then he can make hitters look filthy. So he's a guy that he has a lot of potential. And he's one of those guys too, I think, if he follows like an Ethan Young type guy who's a little more velo on the mound and White comes in and he's a little more off speed, then it could really throw hitters off too. So Ian White's a guy I trust, but beyond that, it's kind of, you have your guys, Young, Pruitt, Hunter, like I mentioned. And after that, it's kind of I might trust you yesterday, but I might not trust you today. And for me, it feels like that's just about every other pitcher on this pitching staff right now. But there's potential for sure. It's just we need to see it week in and week out.
And to an extent, we also want to mention that this is college baseball. A lot of teams have this issue. This is not just an ECU issue. I do want to reemphasize that because a lot of teams struggle to throw strikes and have effective, deep pitching staffs in college baseball. And I do agree, Wags. There is you see the stuff, which is encouraging, but you just want to see more consistency, which we hope continues over the course of the season. Hopefully, we get some guys back at some point that we've been talking about. I feel like for a while, and it feels like Antolik's been 2 weeks away for 3 months now, but a little hyperbole there, but we'll find out if he's back towards the end of March. All right, a couple other things here. Pirate Mitch wants to know why Wichita State got a NIT invite. They are 42 spots higher in the net, and a much tougher strength of schedule is why. Haven't confirmed that, but I would just assume that's the case. Somebody else said earlier that Pirate basketball always lets us down is what he learned. Any Pirate basketball thoughts, gentlemen? Because we are not doing an NCAA tournament selection special tonight.
I thought they played well to end the year. I think that I need to see more out of Schwartz going forward, and I expect them to be better next year despite losing a lot, including one of the all-time greats in R.J. Felton.
All right. I know you want to comment on UNC making the tournament, Wags, but
I couldn't care less. But I will say I have probably been one of Michael Schwartz's biggest haters. And again, I went on strike after the North Alabama game, which ended up not being as bad as a loss in the end. But I came back in the end and I watched and I liked what I saw from the team. And I will say Schwartz, he proved me wrong for this year. Still have some concerns, but it was a very good year for ECU basketball. You won a lot of games, and hopefully it's only the start. So, nice. I see the name change there.
I didn't know I could do that until you started saying that. So I just wanted to test that out. Yeah, if you're watching or if you listen to the podcast, I changed Wags' name on the screen to Mike Schwartz Hater. As he
someone's gonna screenshot that.
Maybe I should change it to X Mike Schwartz Hater. As Josh points out, yeah, North Carolina has lost their last 2 series to Stanford and Louisville. So what's going on with the Heels, man? Have y'all paid any attention to I haven't seen what Coastal did, but UNC falling already is not a great sign, although they are young at the plate to an extent.
Yeah, I also think that those Stanford and Louisville are really good teams. They've been on the fringe of my top 25 before those series for each of those weeks. But the ACC is weird, man. And Coastal is swept again this week. And so Coastal's looking good. I think they lost a midweek to Wake Forest. But
they got run ruled at home by Wake.
But Coastal's winning their weekend. So the Sun Belt looks good too. So if Coastal can not do what they did last year and, win the majority of the games going down, that'll be a good RPI boost.
Yeah,
All right,
Coastal's
Jade,
at
go ahead.
15 in RPI. UNC they actually went up this week to 5, despite losing a series at Louisville. So still good series to have played, good wins to have picked up. I know obviously we'd rather have 1, 2 out of 3, but we still did get wins in at least the Coastal series. So.
All right, East Carolina right now sitting at 90th in the RPI and 1-5 quad 1, no quad 2 games as of now. Again, a lot of this stuff is very fluid. I mean, you can move and drop a lot or rise a lot depending on who you're playing. UNCW on Tuesday right now, 49th in the RPI, 10-10 overall. They've been kind of erratic. That game will be in Fayetteville as the Pirates return to the Woodpeckers Stadium. Then you have Memphis this weekend, 179 RPI. They're 11-8. They just took a series from Lindenwood. I know you guys really were hyped for that one. And then you have at Duke, which is surprisingly 109 in the RPI. What the hell is going on there? They're 12-9.
Stinks.
They'll be up for the Pirates, so they always do. At Rice, 195, 4-16. Just hired David Pierce, former Texas head coach, and he's going to start coaching this weekend against FAU. So we had a comment earlier. Let's see if I can find it here. I wanted to bring all those up because, JPN says we are in a 3-week stretch where we have to go 12-1 or 13-0, which is, I assume he's counting the last week in that, because essentially what he's saying is these teams RPI wise are not good, Scott. So how much of a concern is it that this part of the schedule it seems easy, but it also means you can't exactly slip up too much?
Yeah, no mistakes. I mean, you have to play clean baseball for 3 weeks, like you said, because William and Mary would be included in that. And then Memphis is not terrible. I mean, they're better than for Memphis standards. They're better than they have been in the past. But it's at home, so them being a 150 RPI team, you still can't lose those series. And then Rice, they lost to your Texas A&M Corpus Christi's,
The Krispies, man,
and split 4 games against Houston Christian, and their RPI went up 43 points. That's how bad they were coming into the week. So it'll be interesting. Obviously, David Pierce is a great coach. I know the Jungle will be excited to have him back here next year, I guess. So, I mean, you just got to play clean baseball. Even these midweeks, the UNCWs, the Dukes, at a neutral and a road site, those are going to be games that matter come selection day. So these 3 weeks are as important as any other 3 weeks that we have. So, and you just can't have any slip-ups.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you had to draw this out on paper, and it never works this easy, you would say, all right, you're already 5-0. And it's very tough to just sweep series. If you could sweep Memphis and Rice and then split the 2 midweeks, I'd say you'd feel great at that point. Because, it's hard to go out there and win every baseball game. So, I mean, I think if you go 5-1 in the 2 conference series and split, you feel good. If you go 6-0 and split, you feel good. I don't know. What do you think, Wag? What is a realistic expectation here?
Yeah, it's tough to say, you need to go in and go 13-0, but you kind of do, because right now RPI is at 90, and that'll normalize a little bit, and that's for a lot of teams. If you look at RPI right now, there's some nobodies that are in the top 5, 10, 15, and they're not going to be there at the end of the year. And there's a lot of teams that are outside the top 100, like a Duke. Duke gets in the ACC play. They're not going to be outside of the top 100. So it's going to normalize. But for ECU, there's no guarantee of normalization. If you go in and, God forbid, you go 1-2 against Rice or something like that, then you might not be able to recover from that. So you need to stack as many 3-0 weekends as you possibly can. And this season, more than any, maybe, I think it's important to kind of steal those RPI boosts on the midweeks that you can. NC State, Duke, UNCW, you need to win a decent amount of those games So I just keep changing my name now. But it's tough, and I still think that my expectations with this team are a little bit lower, and it's 2-1 is a good week or a good weekend. But I do think if you go through a stretch where you pick up, 2 more sweeps in a row, then I think the conversation starts to shift back towards, man, can this team be a pretty decent 2 seed as opposed to is this team going to make the tournament? But like I talked about last week 1,000 times, the margin of error right now is just non-existent. So it's one stumble, and we're having an entirely different conversation.
Check in on the Warren Nolan predicted results page, which always just kind of makes me laugh. But right now it's got ECU at 39-17, finishing the season 22-8 at home, 15-8 on the road, 23-4 in conference, 37 RPI. That would lead ECU 1-7 quad 1, but 7-2 quad 2. And that would be enough, certainly, to get in, probably a 2 seed. In this scenario, they have ECU winning against Wilmington, sweeping Memphis, losing to Duke, sweeping Rice, and then losing at UNCW on the backside of this stretch we're talking about. So, they kind of have similar, I guess, thoughts as JPN. So, I don't know. I'm kind of with Wags here, Scott. I still don't know if this team is good enough to just expect them to dominate that long of a stretch of baseball, but I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, these are teams that we should beat. Rice and Memphis are teams that we should expect to beat and Dallas, right? And I think losing either one of these series would basically eliminate us from at-large capability. And then, Wags were talking about the RPI teams in the midweek. Duke and NC State are both over 100 right now. And, I think they'll end up in the 50s probably. But, these teams that we schedule that are typically 50 spots better than they currently are in RPI are kind of disappointing in that regard. And so when that happens, you have to flip the switch and you have to make sure you win those games. Losses hurt a lot worse when teams underperform relative to RPI than maybe their talent level would be. Because I do still think that Duke and NC State are more talented than they've performed this season.
East Carolina and UNCW, it'll be the first of 3 tomorrow, and then the Pirates will host Memphis. Johnny Robertson says, this is the first time since 2016 that the Pirates have played back-to-back weekend series without committing an error. Good notes there, Johnny R. He also says the Pirates are 52 in the ELO ratings. The ELO seems to reflect the true value of a team better than RPI at this point. Well, I'll be honest, I don't know exactly what the ELO is calculated by. And if the NCAA actually used it with the selection committee, I would pay more attention to it. But they look at the flawed RPI metric. I don't know. Do either of y'all pay attention to the ELO?
I only know what ELO is because I used to play a Pokemon simulator online a bunch, and they also used ELO ratings. But basically, you start at a set amount, and you go up or down based off of wins and losses relative to what your opponent's amount was at that time. So I think it probably is more accurate earlier in the season than RPI because RPI needs more data to actually compound and make sense. But I don't know if I'd have us at number 52. We're probably close to that. 50 to 75, I think, is pretty accurate for how we've performed so far.
Very mid thus far for the Pirates. But hey, 5-0 week, trending upwards. JPN 1212 says, can we just talk about how awesome that Parker Bird moment was? Parker Bird gets his first RBI on Wednesday at VCU, and then Friday gets his first hit, turning on a first pitch fastball, pinch hitting in the bottom of the 8th. And yeah, just chill bumps, guys. When he stepped out on the deck, just could feel every time he gets a chance. It's awesome. And for him to get his first hit, we all knew it was coming. Wags, I know you've been saying that for a long time. It's just a matter of time. And honestly, you look at his at-bats and his plate appearances, over his full sample size, he's been a pretty effective hitter. Like, quite honestly, he's drawn a walk. He's hit the ball hard a couple times. Like, he clearly is competent in the box.
Yeah, it was awesome. Both moments were because, obviously I was watching the Wednesday game at VCU on TV, but there was a decent amount of VCU fans there. At least it sounded like it. And you could hear the cheers as he came to the plate. And then he hit a ball hard in the outfield and drove in a run. And it was awesome. And man, he rocketed that ball over the weekend where he got his first hit. And there was no doubt in my mind when it bounced off the third base and went into foul territory that's easily a base hit, easiest call ever. And I mean, man, he deserves it because, we talk a lot about this team and how it's lost a lot of leaders from past years, but I think it shouldn't go, understated how important Parker Bird is in that respect. And he's kind of that guy this year. He is like the leader on this team, I think. And for him, obviously what he's gone through and to see him get that moment is awesome. And he deserves it. And I think we're going to see more of those moments. And I hope so, because that also means that we're playing good baseball. And it's awesome to see Parker Bird be able to be part of those moments when we are playing well.
Got to interview him after Friday, which was cool. His dad was there on the field, and him and Cliff Godwin shared a hug, which was cool to see. And ready for him to get a shot to play third base as well, because I feel like in pregame he looks good there, moving as well, and obviously has a good enough arm to throw it. So I don't know, Scott, the Parker Bird story. Any thoughts you want to share as well as we come out of the week?
Yeah, just incredibly inspirational for a guy to bounce back and stick to it like that and really become a monumental figure across the sports world doing what he's done. And that ball was smoked. Look how, you can really see how great his hands are to generate that much power with a prosthetic leg. And, anytime you see the camera pan after a ball's hit and it's already ricocheted off the third baseman, that's like pretty telling about how hard that ball was hit. So, just an incredible story, incredibly proud of Parker Bird and glad that he's here and we get to watch him and, look forward to seeing him in the ECU uniform for a long, long time. And even after just being around the program, because I think college athletics needs feel-good stories and they need players like Parker Bird in an era where it is so much me and selfishness. To see a guy that perseveres and inspires others is, really heartwarming.
Extremely well said, Scott. And there's no easy way to transition from Parker Bird's story to the announcer on Wednesday, but we'll just do it. Quite possibly the best, most electric announced game. There will be some that vehemently disagree with that, but I am on the side of I loved it. I loved every second. It was I can't even describe it. Like, you just had to listen to it. Wags, I know you turned it on and like we were hyping it up. We'll start with you because you tuned in later. Did it match up to what your expectations were? I don't know if you had any expectations, but what were your thoughts on the VCU Wednesday announcer?
Yeah, I listened to the first inning. I missed about the first inning, and that was it. I listened to it on my way home on the radio, and then I read you guys' messages, and like, this guy's crazy. Like, he's all over the place. And then I turned it on, and there was no preparing you for what you heard on that broadcast, and I loved it. I mean, baseball's fun, and it's a game. It's supposed to be fun, and we all obsess over it in our different ways, and we get so stuck up when it doesn't go how it's supposed to. And I don't know, for me, it was the most fun I've had watching a baseball game this year. And I mean, I loved you never knew what was happening based on the call because it would be an easy fly ball and he'd be making a one-handed catch out there and it sounded like he's diving when it was a can of corn and he was playing it under it the whole time. But every call was an adventure, but that dude did not care about what other people thought. And he went out there and he had a very entertaining call. He had fun with it, and that's the way it should be. And obviously it wasn't your most, perfect around the edges baseball broadcast, but from entertainment value, I don't think anything for the rest of my life is going to match what we heard on Wednesday.
I know Scott and I both laughed at the beauty of a call catch on like a relatively. I mean, he was running in, but relatively routine catch by the center fielder. And then you had the trampoline, Colby Wallace. You had lots of references to ducks on the pond in hunting season. I don't know, Scott. Did you have a favorite call?
Yeah, I'm hoping that the title is "There's Ducks on the Pond and He Knows How to Hunt" for the podcast tonight. I mean, that was incredible. I'm gonna go to that well a lot. But yeah, I mean, the juxtaposition of hearing his call and watching the most mundane play happen on your television while the most electric play has been described was pretty great. And I don't even think there were things that happened that were awesome that he just like I don't even think he noticed. Like I don't even think he knew Dixon Williams had a prosthetic leg and got an RBI. I think he was just that excited about just a regular RBI.
Well, you said Dixon Williams. You meant Parker Bird.
Sorry, Parker. Parker Bird.
Dixon's got a prosthetic?
Yeah. Everybody actually has one on the team now. It's our new thing for 25. So, and then I think what I was thinking about with Dixon Williams was I'm pretty sure at one point Dixon Williams like knocked the cover off the ball.
Yeah.
And
Literally.
He barely reacted.
Because it was very confusing because the camera panned like towards the third base dugout because that's where the cover went. And then like you couldn't even see the ball in the air. And he was like, "I told you he could do it." And I was like, "What is he talking about?" He just fouled that ball off. But like it was, I don't know. Did you guys think he was like a young, like just love the game, like goes to VCU guy, or like an older person? Because I kept seeing like both things. But I do think I would love to see more people with just a passion for the game announce college athletics because I think it does like really drive home like the passion behind college sports.
I was told that he is a elderly gentleman, and I would have gone the opposite direction. I would have thought super young, like college guy. So I would
have gone somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, you would have
I
gone
would have thought like
middle-aged.
a middle-aged type guy.
So we were all over the spectrum.
On the younger side of middle-aged. But, I do think that from now on, I'm going to be disappointed when I turn on a baseball game. And when you get an out, the call isn't nay.
Nay.
That was my favorite call because it was every time. It was just nay.
Nay is a wild thing to say. He said it 6 or 7 times. I mean, I lost count, but it was. Oh
man, fun time. Speaking of, I got to change Jonathan Wagner's name again as a result of nay. Jonathan Nay Wagner.
I'm typing that as my name when I join next week, so I'm sticking with it.
The chat has a question specifically for Scott. He says 3 neutral site games, Wofford, ECU this weekend. Who takes the series?
Well, in a game with East Carolina and any other team from the Carolinas, a neutral site game is a home East Carolina baseball game. So I'll give them the advantage. I say ECU wins it 2-1. Win Friday and then Sunday.
Wofford is, let's see, their schedule. Of course, I go to their site and it brings up last year's schedule. They are 14-6. They had a big sweep of Lemoyne. They did take 1 at Kentucky. They also lost 1, but did get the series in a traveling series versus Elon. How about that? 2 at Elon and 1 at home. So good for them. I'll take ECU. Wags, any thoughts here?
Yeah, I would have to say nay to Wofford winning that weekend.
Nay. By the way, check out Carolina Curveball. Casey and Romeli, his crew, do a great job weekly and two times a week. They podcast and just released the power ratings. ECU up 2 spots after a 5-0 week. So the Carolina Curveball guys, really appreciate them for their hard work and everything. All right. I had something else here I wanted to bring up, but now it's eluding me. I see that we have a comment from Blake Harrell's burner. Are we really doing this? My brother Cliff had himself a weekend. Is there a burner for everybody now? I'm surprised we don't have a Bucks on the Pond burner, to be honest.
Well,
Do
we
we
got
need to start
yours.
that? Yeah, but mine is lame as hell. Whoever's running mine needs to shape up a little bit.
Yeah, Jonathan.
If that was me, I would ban myself from this podcast. What an embarrassment. I hate all the burners.
Well, if you want to get Wags going, just talk about burners. Or what was it a few weeks ago you were getting pissed about? I don't know. You went some epic rant on the show. Maybe it was just how bad ECU was playing. I don't know.
I think it was
The
our
field.
The field, yeah.
Don't even get me started because it still looks
Is
so
the field
stupid.
the field looking any better, guys?
I've gotten used to it by now, but it still looks ugly. It's stupid, and I hate everything and everybody that was associated with that decision.
So Wags hates everybody at ECU is what he's saying.
Mostly
Sorry,
coaches.
Cliff.
Maybe Cliff Godwin, yeah, mostly Cliff Godwin. Sorry, Cliff. All right, East Carolina this weekend will take on again Memphis. Just a rundown of what to expect from the Tigers. They took 2 out of 3 from Southeast Missouri. They took 2 out of 3 from Valparaiso. They took 2 out of 3 at Louisiana Tech, which is a good series win historically. They are 145 in the RPI. Lost 2 out of 3 to a 16-3 Southeastern Louisiana team, which is where their their coach used to formerly coach. And then took 2 out of 3 from Lindenwood. So they have not really been tested overall, as they are 0-0 in quad 1, 1-2 in quad 2, 2-2 in quad 3, 8-4. Most of their games are quad 4. So this will be I'll dive more into the Tigers this week, but ECU will be favored at home to win the series for sure. We'll see if they can sweep. And then, of course, UNC Wilmington on Tuesday. So let's go around the horn, guys. Expectations / prediction for the week ahead. We'll start with Wags.
Yeah, I think it all starts with Tuesday again, and UNCW is not going to be an easy game, but it's one of those that you need to win. And I think having Sunday off this past weekend, I think is going to be huge because you played 2 on Saturday, but you had Sunday to rest, recover, get off your feet. And I don't even think we've mentioned this, but through all this entire week, the 5-0 week, the team is still sick, still battling all that stuff. So having that day to recover and get healthy again, I think is going to be huge. So I think ECU comes out on Tuesday and wins, and you beat UNCW. Too bad we won't be able to watch it. And you go in Memphis, and my brain is telling me not to say a sweep and not a 4-0 week. But usually when I overthink it, I'm wrong. ECU is a better team than Memphis, and ECU is going to win all 3 games.
All right. So you have, what was that, 3-1?
4-0.
4-0. You have UNCW as a win. All right. Casey O'Malley says, who's going to Segra Stadium? I am not. I think Chance Scott is from Hoist the Colors intern. Local PQ County guy, Tanner Thatch, obviously a stud for UNCW, one of the best players in the country. Neither of y'all are going to Fayetteville, right?
Wags won't be able to watch, but I will because I'll be there.
Someone's going to be representing us.
Can you live stream?
Right now, phone will die immediately.
You can give us one inning. Pick the most electric inning possible. You know what you need to do is do your best VCU announcer impersonation.
Oh my god!
Which, by the way, Skull Pirate did say, "Can we bring the announcer on for a future podcast?" The fans demand it. I got a number. I texted it and have not gotten a response. So I don't know if this guy knows how to use a phone or what, but I'm gonna try
He
again.
says nay to that request.
He did.
That's on new media.
I've been nay-nayed by the most electric announcer. Casey O'Malley says he'll be there, and someone texts Carter's dad to come. I guess he means Carter Cunningham. By the way, shout out Carter Cunningham. Walk-off home run for the Blue Jays in the spring training game. That was cool to see. Shout out Botanda Chispa. All right, your thoughts on the week ahead, Scott. Are you going to go negative again here?
Well, so I will be there both Tuesday and Friday. So I will be going to 2 games this week, which typically does not bode well for the East Carolina Pirates. So I'll go 3-1. There's zero shot they win both games I go to.
3-1 is the pick. I'm going 3-1 as well. I think UNCW is going to be tough. I think they lose it and then they sweep Memphis. So that is my prediction. I feel like the Pirates are going to play well this weekend at home. If they find a way to win Tuesday, I think we could see a very long winning streak for the program. But we'll see what happens going forward. All right, bold prediction time. JP in 12-12 says he's got 4-0. So he's with Wags here. Congrats to Scott Lorbatcher and myself, the winners of bold prediction of the week. We get to experience this amazing graphic design project for watching our live stream.
I thought you were trying to put you two on top, and I thought you kept messing it up. And I'm like, come on, man.
You know what? We might can do that too. Oh no. There we go. All right. The true winners here of the bowl prediction. We're going to relegate Wags here for a second. How does it feel, Scott, to hit on your bowl prediction?
It feels great. I was a little disappointed at Kalinich's home run celebration. It wasn't nearly as animated as I had hoped, but pretty proud of myself to get one of these right for the first time, I think, all year. So congrats to me for thinking of that. And congrats to you for thinking of it the week earlier so I could steal it.
Yeah, I feel like I should get half a credit for that, but it's all good, man. Let me see if I can bring Wags in here. He looks a little bored. Let's see here. There we go. All right, he's on bottom now.
You got Nene.
Yeah.
You guys showed up wearing UNCW colors for some reason.
Hey. It's just a plain blue shirt. It's it's top of the drawer in the morning.
And Wags gets pinched because he didn't dress for St. Patrick's Day.
Come on, Wags.
That's my fault.
That's what happens when you don't have a wife and a girlfriend, though.
And you know what the best thing is? The second shirt in my drawer was a Pinecrest shirt. So I could have picked that one. I didn't realize it was St. Patty's Day until about lunchtime.
So your bold prediction attempt, Wags, was Gabe Beschloss first save?
Yes, and did not happen.
There was a possibility. Yeah. He got one out of 9 needed. So it didn't quite work out. But if he would have closed out we did confirm if he would have closed out the final 3 innings, even with a run rule, he would have got credit for the save. ECU hit, I think, 9 home runs officially over the weekend for the 3-game series. I had 8 as my bold prediction, and the Pirates accomplished that. So, pat on the back to Steven. All right. Wax looks like he's about to cry. Bold prediction of the week. Loser started off. What do you got, Wax?
I was hoping one of you guys would start. I had no idea, but
all right. I mean, if Scott wants to go first, he can. Because I also
Wax go. He's gonna take us home.
That's fine. That's fine. I've thought about another lineup base type thing, but instead, I am going to go with pitching. And I'm going to make a prediction on total innings started by your 4 starters this week. And I'm just going to kind of do the math in my head a little bit. And
this is riveting.
I think that you're going to get 17 innings from your 4 starters this week. I think Norby's going to give you about 7 or 10. You're going to get at least 3, 7. You're going to get 7. Sorry. You're going to get 7, and then the other 2 on the weekend are going to give you at least 3 each. So that's going to set you up at 13. And then I think Moran's going to go about 4 tomorrow. So clearly math is not my strong suit right now.
Just did this with some numbers right now.
I feel like I have to figure out if this actually bold.
17 innings by the 4 starting pitchers.
Okay. So that would be an average of
I'll
Four
up it
thirds.
if the group feels like I should up it by an inning or two.
An average of 4 1/3. Do we feel like that's bold?
With this staff, yeah.
Yeah.
And not only this pitching staff, but also this coaching staff.
Good point.
So last week, Norby went 7. Moran went 5, right?
Yep.
That's 12. And then Lance went 1.2, and Jenkins went 2.2.
Give me
So that would
18.
be-
Give me 18.
Okay. I feel like 18 is a good number.
18 innings from ECU's 4 starters.
All right. We'll call it we'll call it bold. Yeah, I told those guys, the guys on the show, that we all had a day. We were thinking about canceling the show, but we're powering through because I almost snapped on somebody today, but it didn't happen.
You said nay.
Nene, a win. Speaking of Nene, Skull says that's not bold, so he says you're.
Not when you
He says you're
go
going.
back to yelling.
You know there were 9 innings in a game, Nene.
Not when you beat the crap out of the other team.
This is true. That could play a factor. JPN says bold prediction: Sean Jenkins goes 5 shutout innings, and he says when Norby goes 9, getting 9 out of the other 3 isn't that bold. All right, so I agree, but Norby at some point is not going to go 7 or 9. Although according to Wags, he's going 7 or 10.
Extra innings, baby.
This is a 91 World Series.
Yeah, just
Like
keep
you
it
guys
rolling.
are 10 innings.
I feel like this show is falling apart over the last 10 minutes. I'm tired. But either way, Scott, you got anything for us on the bold front?
We're going to run rule Memphis twice.
All right. Does Skull approve of that boldness? Let us know. And I'm going to comb through the individual stats here. And I'm going to make a bold prediction that Alex Boucher is going to hit 3 home runs this week. That's bold, right? I mean, he has 3
That's
on the
bold.
season. Is
That's
2
bold.
is 2 bold, or I feel like 2 is not enough.
I feel like
So
three is the right amount. I would
feel
set
like
the
3.
over-under at 2.5.
Yeah. I'm going 3. Alex Boucher, he visited us in studio, and now he is going to follow it up with some bombs. And I'm going 3. JPN says 2 is bold. Well, JPN, I'm going to make up for Wag's weak ass. I'm going to go 3. So that way when we all hit, we're all going to look like geniuses. All right.
Hey.
Nay. That'll do it for our show. We are out of time. Yes, Skull, they do run rules in conference play, he asks. So that is the case. And I think it's still 10 after 7. And so we'll see if there's any run rules in effect this weekend. Who knows? The Pirates could get run rule. You never know with the way the starting staff is going. It's been a fun hour. It was like a fun 53 minutes. The last 10 minutes pretty bad, I'm not going to lie. But Scott had jury duty. Wags is too busy filling out his bracket, taking Carolina to the Final Four. And I'm tired and mad. So appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll be back next Monday, March 24th. By the way, are either of y'all waking up at 6 a.m. to watch the opening day in Japan?
I'll wake up, and we'll see what happens.
All right.
I guess I'll be up at like 7:30 for work. So
Yeah. Tune it on. All right. We got to get out of here. It's been fun. We will see you guys next week. Bucks on the Pond. Thanks as always for tuning in.